Shelley Winter Show, live, local, topical, and relevant. And on the phone with me is our Georgia sitting senator. His name is Senator. He has a title, Senator Jon Ossoff. How are you, Senator?
Hey, Shelley, good evening. Thank you for having me, and everybody out there on the drive home or after a day's work or starting the night shift. This is your Senator Jon Ossoff, and it is a pleasure and an honor to represent you.
My man. So you've got Mike Collins. Talk to me, my brother. What do you think about going up against Mike Collins for your reelection?
You know, I think character matters. I think integrity matters. And in an era when these words are thrown around casually, it is no exaggeration to say that Congressman Mike Collins is a notorious bigot. He is a notorious anti-Semite. He is a notorious extremist. And he's also on the wrong side of a whole lot of issues. He is pro-war. He is pro-tariff. He is pro-cutting health care. And let's be honest, he's only a congressman because his daddy was a congressman. The contrast here is between effectiveness and character and corruption and a fundamental lack of integrity on the part of Mike Collins. I would note that he is currently, as we speak, under federal investigation for illegally misusing tax dollars, our tax dollars. And it's just unacceptable misconduct across the board since he was elected. And, you know, the contrast will be very clear over these next 5 months.
We're on the phone with Senator Jon Ossoff. When you say a notorious anti-Semite, I'm familiar with one of the stories that came out during the campaign season with him having staffers and so on and so forth in far-right Nazi-type chat rooms. But are there other examples of when you call him, I mean, it's a strong word, anti-Semite. Can you give us any other examples?
And as Georgia's first Jewish senator, it's not a word I use lightly. And we're not just talking about chat rooms here. I mean, this guy has made common cause publicly with a known Nazi at an event in New York. He has amplified blatantly anti-Semitic content online. He's been called out for it repeatedly, and he's refused to apologize. He should convene a press conference tomorrow and apologize for his record of anti-Semitism.
We're on the phone with Senator Jon Ossoff. Senator, you told us what you think about your opponent. I appreciate you. What will you be running on? What are the issues that you think Georgians want to hear you talking about? And conversely, the congressman as well.
Shelley, you know, this is something that you understand, but I think a lot of folks in national politics in Washington don't really get, which is that the best work that an effective senator does for their home state and their constituents usually has little to do with whatever's leading the national political headlines, whatever's hot on Twitter or cable news. What am I focused on right now? I'm focused on trying to prevent the closure of the hospital at Fort Gordon that so many service members and veterans rely upon. I'm focused on trying to get Georgia peanut growers more access to world markets so that our number one industry, agriculture, can thrive and create wealth and jobs here in the state. I'm focused on continuing my work to protect vulnerable children, from the investigation that I led exposing abuse in Georgia's foster care system to the legislation that I wrote and passed to protect kids from online predators, to the initiative I'm taking right now to protect kids from the harm that can result from some of these AI models. So I'm going to continue doing good work and substantive work on behalf of the state of Georgia. I'm going to continue standing up to powerful interests who threaten our prosperity here in Georgia, whether it's these big out-of-state companies who are coming in and buying up tens of thousands of homes in our state and driving up home prices, or drug companies who are ripping people off for prescriptions, or these big tech companies who have been turning a blind eye to online predators. The bottom line is if they come after my constituents in Georgia, I'm going after them.
It's interesting that I heard none of those issues talked about on a campaign trail from any of our Senate candidates, any of them, not a single one. I heard none of those issues talked about. Why do you think that is? Why do you think in a primary election we didn't hear about a hospital closing or the buying up of homes and that the things you just talked about?
Well, Shelley, the blunt answer is that during this Republican primary runoff, the whole thing was an audition for the president's favor. It wasn't really a substantive policy debate. It was a Washington-focused runoff. But what matters to folks here in Georgia is, are hospitals going to close down? Can we sell Georgia-grown crops across the country and around the world? Are our children safe online? Are children in the care of the state in our foster care system facing abuse and mistreatment? These are the things that motivate me every single day to get up and fight for our state. These are the issues I'll be carrying onto the campaign trail these next 5 months.
Congressman Collins, in his victory speech last night, called you a far left progressive. I push back when people say that. What are your thoughts? How would you describe yourself as a Democrat?
I'm a Georgia Democrat, and I think that my office has built a reputation across the state for providing extremely high quality and responsive constituent service, for focusing on Georgia's economic development and the prosperity and growth of key industries across the state, of standing up for vulnerable kids and people who are being preyed upon by vulnerable industries. And I think what you heard last night from Congressman Collins is, frankly, pretty typical national partisan rhetoric. I'm going to continue delivering for the state of Georgia and run on my record delivering for the state of Georgia.
You just dropped a 2-minute online, I guess, a ad you dropped earlier today. Greg Bluestein put it on his Twitter, where you laid out your attacks on Mike Collins. You went through some of them. What is the most egregious thing beyond the anti-Semitism, the bigotry and stuff like that? What is the biggest criticism that you have policy-wise of the congressman?
Look, this guy voted to double health insurance premiums for more than 1 million Georgians. And we have seen just in the last 5 months, as a result of that policy, more than 300,000 Georgians lose their coverage, lose their health insurance altogether. I have heard from constituents who tell me they're going to lose their coverage in the middle of a cancer fight. And everybody has seen it. Everyone's gotten the letters from their insurers, or they've logged on to renew their plan, and they've seen their premiums skyrocketing. And it's not just the ACA plans, it's increasingly also the employer-based plans, and this was predictable and avoidable. It is not just the natural course of things that health insurance premiums are skyrocketing. Health insurance premiums are skyrocketing because of a policy choice that Mike Collins made that is hurting Georgians and making it even harder for Georgians to get by and even harder for Georgians to get health care when they're sick.
There's a reporting that said that you, the Democrat nominee for governor, is Keisha Lance Bottoms. She was on with me last night with an exclusive interview. We're on the phone with Senator Jon Ossoff with an exclusive interview. And there was reporting a couple weeks ago after she won outright her Democrat primary that you guys will be running together. Can you talk about that, and can you define that and what that means?
I think it means that we will be a team focused on delivering a positive vision for our state's future and how good state government and good federal policy can work together to serve the state's needs. What do I mean by that specifically? We have lost in the last 20 years 21 hospitals in the state of Georgia, in large part because our state government has refused to expand Medicaid. And what does it mean to expand Medicaid? It means that the state has refused to accept federal resources that would help fund our hospitals and get people health insurance. We're paying the same federal taxes as people in every other state. We're just not accepting the benefit from the federal government to fund our hospitals and help people afford health insurance. And as a result, people have needlessly suffered and died. So you have all of this working against our health, all of this driving hospitals into dire straits. And then on top of that, the federal Medicaid cuts. Already, one hospital in Northeast Georgia says it's going to close its labor and delivery unit, citing these Medicaid cuts. We have a real health care crisis in Georgia, and now insurance premiums going through the roof. So if we have a Medicaid expanding Governor Bottoms, and we repeal those federal Medicaid cuts and restore these Affordable Care Act benefits, we can save hospitals that are on the brink. We can reopen hospitals that have closed, and we can lower people's health insurance premiums.
What do you say to those on my side that says, but where are we going to get the money from? Don't say we just spent trillions and billions in war for 3 months. Let's not go there. But where do you say to those people say, we don't have the money?
That's the irony of this Medicaid issue, is that we're already paying these taxes. What's happening right now is Georgia taxpayers are subsidizing Medicaid in all of the other states that have expanded it. But we're refusing to accept those resources that we're already paying into the federal system. And that is so self-defeating. Not to mention, people still get sick, right? I think this sometimes gets lost in this discussion.
Yes, sir.
In terms of the burden on public finances. If people don't have health insurance, it's not like they don't need health care. By the way, it means they need health care when they're already sicker, because instead of having gotten preventative health care, they're showing up at the emergency room when they're already acutely ill because they weren't getting care because they didn't have health care. Well, who foots the bill for their care? It's the taxpayer. So we have a situation where we're paying federal taxes but not accepting federal resources for our hospitals and health insurance. As a result, more people are more sick and still need health care that then is more expensive and still has to be covered by the taxpayer. It just makes no sense.
Look, that's my question. Okay, so that's what you and former Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, those are the kind of issues you guys are going to be talking about together. That's what you mean by campaigning together. So why do you think Republicans in the state and across the country are doing this? I refuse to believe that they're, I know many of them, they're not evil-hearted, they're not bad people. Why do you think they're doing this or carrying out this policy the way in which they're doing it?
Well, look, all I can do is tell you what the policy was. And the policy was that they wanted to pass yet another tax break that overwhelmingly went, and these are just the facts, Shelley, that overwhelmingly went to the spectacularly wealthy and to corporate America. And in order to pass that huge tax break, overwhelmingly for the rich in corporate America, they did two things. One is they blew up the deficit, right? This was a hugely fiscally irresponsible bill that added a lot to the national debt. And they gutted the Medicaid program, which provides funding for health insurance and hospitals in Georgia and across the country. And let's take the political parties out of it, the partisanship out of it. To me, that is emblematic of the corruption in our political system. I mean, if you go to any part of the state of Georgia and you ask the question, hey, do you think it's a good idea to defund hospitals and nursing homes to cut taxes for the wealthy? I don't think anyone's really for that. Half of all births in Georgia are covered by Medicaid. Half of all births. 70% of all Georgia seniors in nursing homes are covered by Medicaid. 40% of all kids in Georgia are covered by Medicaid. But the decision was made that to fund another tax break overwhelmingly for the wealthy, the Medicaid program was going to be gutted. And we're going to be paying for it for years. We're already seeing the damage to our hospitals, and more is coming later this year and next year.
We're on the phone with Senator Jon Ossoff talking about his run for re-election against Congressman Mike Collins. As I was preparing for this interview, I'm doing research for my show, but I knew you would be calling in at some point. Didn't know what time, but as I'm doing show research and preparing for this interview, I see an article on Drudge Report. Here's the headline. This senator is an internet sensation. Is he running for president? Are you running for president?
Unequivocally, no. I have zero interest in running for president in 2028. It is a great honor, the honor of a lifetime, to represent the state of Georgia. I am not entitled to this office. This office belongs to the people of the great state of Georgia. I have done my very best these last 5 years to be the most responsive and accessible and effective federal representative that the state has ever had. And Shelley, you know this. If we can go to different parts of the state, my office is well known for the quality of service that we provide.
This is true.
And that is ultimately what representation is all about. And it does not matter to me if you're for me or you're against me. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, unaffiliated, anything in between. I am here to help you, and I want to encourage folks to reach out whenever I can be of service.
Where do they reach out to? I have one more question, but where do they reach out to?
Because we're talking campaigns
and
politics.
Yes, you're right. Sorry about that.
I don't think that I can provide my office information, but folks, you can. I want to stay on the right side of all that, but folks, you can Google and find out how to get a hold.
My man. I'll tell him after we get off the air. Last question, right? Today, the Georgia Republicans had a special session. They did not do any redistricting. Your thoughts about that? And then part B of that question is, did you have a preference when we got to the runoff, Dooley and Collins? Did you have a preference of who you would have wanted to run against?
As for the special session, I thought it was interesting that they have apparently decided, not to do what they threatened to do, which was basically to redraw the congressional maps and remove a black Democratic lawmaker from the U.S. House. And I think they were feeling the heat on that because there was so much outrage at the proposition that they would do so. I do just want to take a second, though, and think about, okay, if that's the kind of thing you might call a special session for, just think about this, Shelley. My investigation of Georgia's foster care system revealed through the outstanding work of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children that likely hundreds of Georgia children had been sex trafficked while they were in the care of the state of Georgia. Where was the special session, Shelley? Where was the special session when that bipartisan Senate investigation, Republicans and Democrats in the Senate with my leadership, revealed that likely hundreds of children had been sex trafficked in the care of the state of Georgia? Where was the governor? Where were our state lawmakers saying, you know what, we better meet right now to deal with this? But, what they were about to do this week was something that was politically motivated. It looks like they've backed off of it. Maybe they should use this opportunity instead to address the grotesque abuse and failures in Georgia's foster care system.
My good Senator Jon Ossoff, before I let you go, man, I told you this personally when I saw you this summer at the Jazz Festival. I'm in constant contact with your team throughout the years. You come on my show several times, and I said one thing to you at the Jazz Festival. I said, if it's Mike Collins is the nominee, I'm Team Ossoff. and I'm a man of my word. Mike Collins is the nominee. I'm here to tell you live on the radio that I am Team Ossoff for the rest of the summer, and I will do everything I can possible on this show to get you reelected. I see reelections as a job interview, and in my humble opinion, I've seen nothing from Senator Jon Ossoff that requires me to say you're fired from the job. So you've got my support. I endorse you. I don't know if that's worth, but I strongly endorse you for reelection. Everything I'm hearing, everything you're doing, everything you've done, I agree with. I have some minor disagreements on some smaller issues, but on the big things, I'm on your team. And so the Shelley Winter Show endorses Senator Jon Ossoff for reelection, my brother.
Well, Shelley, it just means the world to me, and I so appreciate your support. And, you know, this is a coalition that is not just for Democrats. It's for independents and Republicans, too. And I truly believe that in order for us to meet the challenges of our time and to seize the opportunities of our time, we're going to have to get beyond this era of bitter partisanship and rediscover the fact that we're all Americans and we're all in this together, and we have much more in common than we have apart, and we can still achieve great things. We can still harness our great national spirit to achieve great things for the American people and the world when we work together instead of constantly working against one another. Most people don't get up in the morning and eat, breathe, live, sleep partisan politics and identify first and foremost as a D or an R. Most people get up in the morning, want to do the best for themselves and their families and their communities and their country, and are proud to be Americans. And I am deeply honored by your support, and I know that's how you view our country as well.
Absolutely, my brother. Senator Jon Ossoff, thank you for the time. I appreciate you. Good luck to you. God bless you. And always know you could call in anytime to the Shelley Winter Show.
Thank you, Shelley. God bless. Have a good night.
God bless you. And, oh, by the way, sir, say hello to the little one.
I will. You know, she just turned 1.
Yeah, I know.
And Eva is 4. They're growing up so quick.
Yep. Oh, that's right. It's 2. That's right. Say hello. Let's give a hug to both of them. Say it's from Uncle Shelley.
I will do, Shelley. You take care.
My brother. God bless.
All right. Bye-bye.
We'll be right back. Shelley Winter Show. Live, local, topical, and relevant.